States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for the Local Development Corporation, we have two items with regards to our Convergys property. It's our it's actually the IDA property, but how's the LDC tied into this? Don, can you?
Well, this goes back a very long way. First of all, just for your background and information, this is a project that we, the community, fought for some, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it was a major attempt across the state to attract what was then Stream. It then subsequently became Stream International, then Stream Global, and so on and so on. But through the years, this company has been an enormous asset to downtown. What has happened over time is they've gradually grown. They average around 500 to 600 employees now. We've seen bumps up to 1,000. So it has been an enormous benefit to the community. What we're looking to do here with the LDC is agree to sublease properties, parking lot issues. Dave will be able to fill you in a little bit more on the actual dialogue that's been going on. He's had point on this since I had my heart attack and done a tremendous job with it. We had started these negotiations. Here we are with a special board meeting just hours before this whole thing expires, but we had actually started this dialogue with this company 8 months ago, maybe, something like that. It's been a long time coming. So anyway, we're looking to provide subleases through the LDC. I'm not sure the legal aspects of this. It was originally done through the WIC, and then that was found not to be necessary, but the LDC could assume this advantage. And maybe Joe can help us understand the legal ramifications of why we do the LDC right.
I wasn't involved in the original deal, but that was set up with the WIC LDC as the holding the lease for the city of Watertown and the county. And there, for some reason, the IDA was not able to.
If I could, the interpretation I found in the files is that the city attorney at the time felt that the city could not legally lease it to the IDA, but it could lease it to an LDC. So at the time, that was back when the WIC we were all part of the same agency, so it was convenient to do it through the WIC. And then when we did so that was for the first 10 years. Then there was that automatic 5-year renewal, which we took the option on a couple years back. But that last agreement did not have the provision for a new renewal, so we needed a new contract. And at this point, it made sense for us to just do it through the LDC, a lot simpler, a lot less complicated. The WIC would be willing to do it, but just said if you don't really need us, so we're going through the JCLDC instead of the WIC LDC this time around. And then then JCLDC in turn can sublease to the IDA.
These whole agreements you'll be seeing this morning have been under the legal microscope for a month and a half or 2 months now, and the Convergys attorneys and Joe, everyone has had a shot at looking at the verbiage, and it's been adjusted and tweaked, and I think we have it at a point now where we're quite comfortable.
The city attorneys reviewed and signed off, and the city and the county both have approved, right, Dave?
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
So how does that? I think of that, the building, and then you've got the upper level parking lot, and then you've got the lower level one down below. They're both.
that's all city.
Those are separate, right?
Well,
Yes.
the lease from the city is for that upper level parking lot and the lower level parking lots. Plus, it takes them to 160 spaces behind the Liberty Building, used to be Raymore's Furniture, as they're on reserve. So they don't need it right now, but in the agreement, if they give, in the original agreement, that was reserved for stream employees. They didn't really need it, so when we did the renewal, they released those 160 spaces with the agreement saying we could, they're on reserve, if we need them, we give 5 days notice, they become available to us, but they've never had to utilize those. And then the 65 county spaces are across, where you go in that entrance to the top level of stream, to the left where the North Country Children's Clinic, now North Country Family Health, there's 65 county spaces over there that are available to them as well.
As a practical thing, the upper parking lots, including the deck, are plowed by the city, and you will see, as part of this agreement, we pay them $20,000, well, actually, Convergys pays them $20,000 a year to maintain that area. We negotiated with the city this time around, and you know, they were interested in seeing that could be increased, and we asked them, and they agreed to hold the line on our expenses, as we did. We simply went in with the same basic fundamental design that we started out with some years ago. In addition to that, it might be helpful to know that the parking lot below, we call it the Court Street side of that, is our responsibility to maintain, and we have done upgrades in that parking lot a couple of years ago. You may remember, board members, we took some of our reserve and redid all the drainage in there and resurfaced the whole lots. We plow that, that's our responsibility to contract that. We also contract with the WIC organization, Billion Company, to maintain the common areas down below, the hallways and those kinds of things. We set up a reserve fund. That's how we receive our money. We get a reserve fund. It's set up for capital expense, and we've dipped into that. And in fact, more the past couple of years than we had done in a long time. But we did a lot of repair on roofing and the sidewalls and buildings, parts and so on. So at the moment, it's an arrangement that really has worked out well. We've been through several companies now. Convergys this year are elected to do a 3-year term rather than a 5 as in the past. That frankly is kind of the way things are going. Companies are reluctant to commit to very long-term agreements for various reasons. But they did commit to a 3-year agreement. We're very pleased that they were able to do that. It represents an enormous amount of employees downtown. So, and salute David for his negotiation skills as we've been working through this issue.
So to bring this all together, the IDA owns the upper portion of the building. Juster used to own the lower portion, now it's Watertown, downtown, whatever it is.
Brian
Murray and his
Murray.
group own the lower portion.
Easy.
The parking lots were leased, the original lease was through the WIC and then from the WIC to the IDA. Now under this new one, that was as of 5 years ago, that one's going away. Now the LDC is gonna have the lease with the city of Watertown and county and then sublease back to the IDA.
Yep.
That's correct.
So that brings everything up.
Same as before, except our JCLDC is replacing the WIC at this point.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions, more,
Sure.
some of them are more out of curiosity. What, the rent due on the 31st day of August, does that have to do with getting on taxes before? What was the purpose of the 31st day of August when everything else is in October?
I don't honestly remember.
It's just the date
specifics.
doesn't beat, it's not
When-
consistent with anything else. I thought there was a reason for it.
Well,
That was more out of curiosity. It doesn't really matter, but it just,
when this agreement was set up years ago, somehow the timing got screwed up. There was a pilot, there was a leaseback, there was other agreements, and they were all supposed to be coterminous, and it turned out that did not occur. So there's been some amendments over time to try to bring these all current, but
okay.
to your
They're just out of
specific.
sync. It's like you don't get your rent until 8 months or 10 months after this agreement goes into effect. So we're living off a lot. It's more a curiosity. I'm sure it's not a legal issue, otherwise you wouldn't have
Well,
approved it.
yeah, and, you know, the rent's more of a pass-through thing anyway than it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And then the other one, again, it's more a curiosity. It says the same thing differently. Was there a calculated reason why section 301 and section 302 are inconsistent language? They say the same thing differently. You know, the annual rate of $1 due on this date every day, and then the next one, it uses a lot more words to say the same thing. And they're,
Well, because the dollar is just a nominal consideration, so the other one actually means something.
on the second sublease one, was it on page 14? We say Jefferson County Local Development Corp., but then we call it WIC LDC, but then we never use WIC LDC anywhere else. Is it
Yeah.
inconsistent to just make it JLCD? Can't even say it.
JCLDC.
JCLDC. That's a mouthful.
Well, that's a typo.
Yeah,
it's
just a typo.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a typo.
Yeah,
So that
that's
should,
a-
okay.
That's just a typo.
It just, because you were going through the whole description, I'm like, well, that's why it says WIC
No,
LDC.
that's a typo. It should have been consistent.
Those are only curiosity questions.
You mentioned we've looked, probably 10 of us have looked at that 300 times.
I
and
mean,
we
that's the
missed
one we
that.
missed.
Leave it to Rob to pick that up.
I read things once in a while. I stumble on some
Which
words.
agreement is that one?
It's page 14,
Yeah, I know
the
it's
county between LDC.
We leave those in there to keep you on your toes.
Well, hey, it wouldn't be wrong, it's never used again, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's
not supposed to be.
Absolutely
It's not supposed to
never.
be there, so.
Yeah, it
Well,
wasn't supposed to be.
Actually, even the LDC, you write it out every other time when it, this whole agreement seems to be about the JCIDA. Those are really, I don't think I had any other questions. That was it. Just really curiosity in the background. So one had no answer because we don't know.
Fix that before we sign up.
I
Good
should,
agreements.
I should note that we started this project years ago with 100% cooperation from every aspect within our community, including the city, Watertown government, and the county government. And that same type of attitude occurred this week. Dave and I visited city council meeting a week and a half or two ago, and everyone there recognizes the importance of this company to not only our community at large, but certainly more specifically downtown Watertown. And I think Lisa may have had some discussion about this prior to the vote, but we appreciate the fact that there was 100% cooperation. And this, again, reaffirms how important working together on a project like this is for our community.
I did it.
So it's on the record, I did recuse myself from discussion during the council
During the
meeting
meeting.
and actually left the room, so I was not part of the discussion or the vote, so I want to make that.
I did have
Put that
one
on
other-
record.
One other question. On page 28, and maybe this doesn't matter, can Don sign both sides of the contract? Is that abnormal for the same person to sign both sides?
No.
It's not
It's not
abnormal?
abnormal, no.
Okay.
He's
It looks
wearing-
abnormal.
He's wearing two hats.
I get the facts, but it's just like,
It's perfectly
There are
fine.
days you never know which hat you're wearing, and that's the
in
truth.
construction, it's called double vested.
Yeah, right.
That was it. I had another little pen scratch there.
As long as the individual boards approve it, it doesn't really matter who signs it, so.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm done asking my questions of curiosity.
It's a great company. They have had their ups and downs, as any call center does, but heretofore, they've been extremely great to work with, and I think they've been a real asset. So we're pleased to be able to see that this comes up and renewed. Thank the board for the special meeting. We're sorry that it got the way it did between my heart attack and changes at our friends at Convergys. We had a new city manager come in the middle of this. All of it just sprung out to time much longer than anticipated. And again, salute my friend David for carrying the ball as well as he did while he was away.
Probably should have.
All right, so moving right along then. I'd entertain a motion to approve the parking lot lease with the city of Watertown.
We don't need a formal written out one, do we?
No.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And then page 22, approving the parking sublease agreement with JCIDA.
Wait, can we back up and do, we did the city, but we gotta do the county separate as well, parking levies. So
Oh,
really
we've
we're
got to-
gonna
oh,
do
I'm-
4 different
There's
things.
four in here. right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Page 14.
I was trying to get there.
Really buried, they all look alike. Couple words change. Nice pictures though.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve the parking lot lease with Jefferson County.
So moved.
Second with the one correction we discussed.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Page 22. Would be a motion to approve the sublease with JCIDA.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you. And again on page 29, it's approving the sublease for the county lots with JCIDA.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Okay.
Opposed? Carries. And that is the extent of our business for the special meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.